Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about the framing effect, which is basically when you draw different conclusions from the exact same information simply based on the way it's presented to you. And this is very common in marketing, for an example.
Yep. If you frame things in a positive light, people are more likely to purchase it, right?
Yeah.
That's just one simple example, but
yeah, or political events like those are a great example too, because it's like something happened, right? Like this event happened and that event doesn't change, but there's significant differences in the reporting on that event.
By the vested interest of the marketing company or the media company that is putting out the information.
Yeah, it depends.
Which is fucking crazy, and the reason why I don't trust any of it because I have a background in marketing.
Yeah, well, it's always like, how can you spin the story to make it come across in a certain way, right? And so that's common in
manipulating the information.
Yeah,
right?
And that's incredibly common. It reminds me, I can't remember who said the quote, but it was something like, if you don't listen to the news, you're uninformed. But if you do listen to the news, you're misinformed. And I can't remember who said it, but that's so on point, because the news, like, I don't think there's ever going to be an objective, just actual news reporting station out there ever. They're all super biased.
That's why people, depending on their political party, whatever it is, have like their preferences on media companies.
Yeah, they have places where they like to get their information because it mostly conforms to their bias.
Their biases,
yeah, exactly.
Which is fucking crazy.
But I want to give you all an example of the framing effect in action, right? And for this, just imagine you're hearing the results of a study, okay? And so in the study, you have, let's say, 100 people in total. 50 receive a placebo, 50 receive some type of drug. Okay, so one person in the placebo group benefits compared to 3 people in the treatment group, okay? So 3 versus 1 out of 50 for each group. Now, how can you report this? Well, here's one way. So those receiving the treatment had 300% greater response rate than those receiving the placebo, a 3-fold greater response rate. This drug's incredible. Okay, here's another way.
Sensational.
Here's another way to report it. So basically, you had one person in the placebo group out of 50, they saw a benefit, and that's just a placebo effect. And then with the drug, it wasn't much better. Only 3 people out of 50.
So are the side effects worth it? Like,
well, yeah,
that's in the first instance, like someone would come to the conclusion that 300%.
Yeah.
Right? It's the way you framed it.
Exactly. It's the exact same information, but the way that it's talked about, it completely changes things, right? Like 3 pennies is more than 1 penny, like 300% more than 1 penny, but still not a lot of money, right? And so how you talk about research results, for example, is an excellent example of the framing effect. And so you always just need to be cognizant of this.
Yeah, because the context of which the information is presented impacts our perceptions, right?
Yeah.
And it'll impact our perceptions in future events too, and information processing.
Yeah, exactly. And this is one of the reasons why it's important, kind of, if you look at research as an example, to not just focus on relative changes, but look at absolute, because relative can be super insightful. It really can. When you express, for example, something as a percentage, that can convey a lot of data, but it needs to also be appreciated in the context of the absolute change. Yeah. Because I mean, sometimes relative isn't as good as absolute at conveying the data, and sometimes it's better. Again, it depends on context, and ideally you'd have both.
Yeah, and so the way this plays out, like when you're purchasing something in marketing, a lot of times people will frame their product in a positive light, because positive frames elicit action, right? And then they frame the opponent's product in a negative light.
Yeah.
And that will always be in the subconscious if you actually bought into that idea too.
Yep.
So next time you approach it, you'll always have that bias.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's basically it. It's the framing effect. And the way you can remember this one is, how is the information framed? Because that determines how you interpret it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, if you like the content of this video, great. That's what we're trying to do. And please give this video a like, share it with someone who you think needs to hear this information. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks, everyone.